live, huh?
We're live. Who knows if it's working? We think it's working.
We usually have a fan or two let us know where they can hear us, right?
We did an AI version of Nick, and we created an older version of Nick here.
That's right. We got the OG of the OGs.
The OG of all things here, Mr. Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Rumor has it that you may or may not know some things about horses.
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit. Yep.
Well, let's get to know a little bit about you first. We know a lot about Nick. He's got nice hair. We can see that it runs in the family. You guys, me, not so much. But Mike, where are you from?
Originally Fremont, Michigan.
That's like central, kind of like Lansing-ish area?
More Muskegon area, western.
Okay, all right. And then is your family always been in horses, or were you a deviant? Did you kind of veer off and into horses? How'd that happen?
I'm the fourth generation. My dad did it as a hobby. His father did it as a living, and his grandpa did it as a living. So I ended up sliding in.
All right.
And I'm breaking the chain.
You're breaking the chain?
Well, he's owned one. So
owned a couple, yeah. We can call it that. So we can call it fifth generation.
You did say you had a busy day today, so I wasn't sure if you were going to be out, taking some hot laps and practicing a little bit, getting ready. You're going to sneak into the Derby, ride one of these alternate entries.
Yeah, it might be. I should have brought the picture when Dad won with my horse down there in Indiana. Should have brought that. Didn't think about that, but we got that. We're holding the 5 up for 5 generations. So.
That is awesome. So out of curiosity, then, is horse racing seems like it's grown in money, obviously, but corporate ownership and corporate entity, but on lower levels below the Kentucky Derby is still very family, like linear, like lots of generations stacked up, or okay. So you started out in Michigan. Is there horse racing in Michigan, or were you? I know you eventually ended up at Balmoral here, but
yeah, they have. We actually in Michigan had 7 racetracks, so we had the most racetracks than anywhere in the country, and so you had a lot of options and different levels of competition to go to. But moved down to Balmoral, the money was better here in Illinois.
All right,
they're still racing in Michigan, but they're really scratching to keep it going.
And that's one of our questions we're going to ask you too here is you ended up at Balmoral. Did you race Melrose Park at all, Arlington, anything like that, or was it always Balmoral?
Balmoral, yeah, Balmoral and Maywood.
Okay.
And Suburban Downs, which is Hawthorne.
Okay. Career wins. I think I saw something in my research over 7,000 wins
over 7. I don't know where it's at, but it's over 7,000.
Nick, you could probably tell me how many transactions you've closed in your career. I could probably tell you how many transactions I closed in my career. Over 7,000 wins. We don't know. It's winning get boring, I guess. Is that what we're hearing here?
It doesn't get boring. It doesn't happen enough.
All right. There's we'll probably pick up a little more volume. You have I know it sounds like you rode one of Nick's horses to a win at some point, but in your career, is there like maybe a spotlight 1 or 2 signature wins that you had?
I won the Windy City Pace up at Maywood. That was a real nice one. I won some big ones out at Balmoral on Super Night. The orange and blue is the 3-year-old colts, and that goes for the most money.
All right. How about any like horrible or heartbreaking losses? Like I don't know. Horse broke, DQ, anything like that? A couple of those?
Yeah, plenty of those.
All right. How many broken bones?
I lost count of that too.
I was curious. We talked. We were a little worried about your you got ran over in a parade the other day. So wasn't sure if there's like been some on track injuries or anything like that.
I broke my ribs 4 different occasions. This time they're bruised. They're bruised bad, but they're not broke, or I wouldn't be able to drive tonight. My hand twice, my foot twice. I broke my neck between the 5th and 6th vertebrae, and that's fused together now. Both shoulders. Anything else?
So what you're saying is
he knows all the bones broken, but he doesn't know the amount of wins.
You're saying is harness racing is
stick with you.
Harness racing is actually a contact sport. It's a little dangerous.
Yes, it's very contact-ish.
Real quick, I don't think the people see we got some nice mid juleps here.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's take a little cheers
Yeah,
Daddy,
to
Dad,
Derby Week. Thank you,
Dad is
Sabrina.
racing tonight, so he can't take a drink, but we'll do it for him, huh, Tony?
Yeah, we could do that. See what Sabrina made up for us.
Woo! Good stuff.
That's a great way to
Nothing.
start your Wednesday morning.
That's it. At 9 a.m.
Mint julep, the official drink of the Kentucky Derby.
That's it.
We'll talk, as we kind of dive through some more stuff and lead up to Kentucky Derby and some horse questions, Mike. What happened with horse racing in Illinois in a very the shortest version possible, right? We've seen, we'll end it with a couple questions about Balmoral, but the big thing in the news right now is Arlington, bought, torn down. Is it going to be the next Bears stadium? Is there anything specific from OTBs, online betting? What drove horse racing out of Illinois?
Well, a lot of the people have left. Anybody that could leave did leave. Some people have stayed, but there's the possibility that there's a law that we can get racinos, and that is a full-blown casino at a racetrack. But Hawthorne doesn't have the money to do it. They don't want partners, and they've got a law that from years and years and years ago, 35-mile law, no one can build 35 miles as a crow flies from Hawthorne. It's got to be farther than that away. But this racino is only allowed in Cook County. So there you are. So we're just going broker and broker and broker. They got the whole front end of the Hawthorne torn off for 5 years now. Not doing anything.
This law's been put in place 7 years ago now, probably?
No, about 35 years.
No, to have the racino.
Oh, yeah, about 5.
That you guys would fought for the longest time. And about 5 or 6 years ago, they put it in that it could happen. So you think it would happen right away, but that's the reason it's not happening.
I think there was some talks at one point of it, trying to do something in Tinley Park, too, where so
state building is there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
that's a great location.
Which is crazy because we watch and we've seen the new casino get built there in Homewood and Hazel Crest. Illinois wants to leverage all of these casino licenses because of all the alleged tax revenue that they drive in. But sometimes when you overregulate or you try to, capitalize on one thing, you could drive an entire industry, hobby, whatever you want to call it. I mean, for you, it's a career. For you're 5 generations in, it's a family business at that point. You're driving all of these families, which are probably some big dollar families when you start to get into the higher levels of horse racing and breeding and all of that stuff, driving these people out of Illinois. So I know you're racing right now in Anderson, Indiana, right?
Yeah.
What other states are we is there any states that are picking up all of the fallout from Michigan and Illinois?
Kentucky is. And
Indiana benefited too, didn't they?
Yeah, Indiana. Almost everybody that's at Indiana is Chicagoans.
So is it Anderson the only spot in Indiana, or is there a couple other courses?
There's another one in Shelbyville, which is thoroughbred.
Okay.
Or harness.
Yeah, so we'll use that as a nice transition into some questions there. So, Kentucky Derby, thoroughbred, jockey, horse, your career, harness racing. We call it driver, pilot. What do they call it?
We're drivers.
Drivers,
because we drive the horse.
Okay.
Basically, and they're jockeys. They're on top of the horse.
What I guess how does a horse, if you're looking just very generally at where a horse would split into, or I guess if not even a horse, a family would decide, hey, we're going to get into harness versus thoroughbred. Is there a certain appeal? Is it maybe a little more accessible in the harness side of things?
Yeah, the nice thing about harness is we race our horses just about every week. Thoroughbreds once a month, sometimes they get 12 starts on them a whole year. And so you get more chance to make money than just putting all your eggs in one basket. And that's the deal with thoroughbreds.
So consistency there. You get I think we were talking earlier, the drivers and the track management in your realm, in your world, you guys are practically partners.
Yeah.
Whereas you get into Kentucky Derby, thoroughbred world, it's dog eat dog, probably some cutthroat stuff that we were talking about. We'll cover it when we go through the daily race form there about what people are paying for some of these horses too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What else we got on here? I got a couple other good questions. What are some of the biggest names that you've encountered at Balmoral and Hawthorne and some of these
question
that you're allowed to talk about without, we don't have to worry about your safety getting out of here?
Ditka used to have harness horses. I don't know if he still does, but
Mike big in the horse racing.
That doesn't surprise me one bit. That Ditka would be in there. How about we see Eddie Olczyk a lot in the thoroughbred community. Was he ever in the harness community at all?
I don't know that.
Okay.
And a lot of the times, the biggest thing with me was I would be in every race, so I really was on the track and not in with the public.
Can we call this guy a friend to the show? Maybe a neighbor of Hage, John Yurkovich.
Oh, you're
ESPN 1000.
Yeah. Yerky.
Big horse guy. We know that.
We know we have a distant friend of the show that no one probably knows besides me and maybe a couple of my friends, but Big Vess. He is a big Balmoral guy for a while there. Also a fantastic bowler and hangs out with Thunderbolt there in Mokina. But Vess, if you're actually watching, love you, man. Haven't seen you in a while. That guy knows how to pick a horse. I don't know what he knows, but he always knows something. Before we dive into the Derby, then, we'll try to stay away from as many emotional questions as possible. But you cut your teeth, you start making money, you build a career kind of at Balmoral, right?
Yeah. Well, I did in Michigan.
Okay.
And then we've been in Balmoral area since 2002.
All right.
And that's when I basically started what we call catch driving. You drive for other people. Otherwise, I was just driving my own in Michigan.
Okay. So as that's going on, you obviously have a son here, Nick, at one point, who gets to close the chapter or the bookend there on the racing portion of Balmoral.
Yep.
Does that evoke some emotion? Like, is it kind of like a fun to keep it in the family type thing? Is it also heartbreaking to see that, the state of Illinois kind of ran horse racing out of the state?
Yeah, it's really sad. It's really sad.
All of a sudden now it's the Volkswagen. Well, it's the Volkswagen parking lot, then the Ford parking lot. But
I think the cool thing about that was, we come from a small town in Fremont, Michigan. We talk about here, a lot of people know I live in Beecher. I mean, Fremont's a comparable size-wise to Beecher, you know what I mean? More of a destination thing. So we come out. Would you classify coming to Balmoral is probably more big time racing where what you were doing before? So it was kind of like in the circuit there. It was a bigger, you
second best
big leagues
competition in the United States, other than the Meadowlands.
So I come from that small town, go out there. He was driver of the year, I think, the last 6 or 7 years there at Balmoral. Was that
13?
13, yeah. Okay.
14.
Yeah, he doesn't know how many wins. It's the 7,000 plus 13. It's a range.
Yeah,
yeah, probably more than that.
I remember when I was selling it and what it turned into, and it was kind of a sad thing to walk through. But I walked it with him just to kind of see through and just kind of walk a little bit down memory lane. I mean, he still had pictures, and I remember he had the 1,000 win mark there, the 2,000 up to 3 or 4. I don't know, and now you're up to 7, obviously. So that was kind of a cool thing.
I guess I couldn't really imagine what that is like, but being involved in that, but then also now your son heavily involved in the equestrian community still, because there's a lot of, and, when Nick, we've talked about this a few times, there's a lot of philanthropy, therapeutic stuff. So like some of these horse farm and equestrian properties in this area now are being converted to some really noble causes.
Yeah.
And you are heavily involved in directing a lot of that. So I guess, you still get a little piece. You might eventually buy some more horses at some point, but maybe you're not riding or driving a horse, but still heavily involved in that community.
There's still a small community, in the area of people here, raining down from before, but it's through my dad's connections, I've been able to, use them for my own and still kind of keep in touch with that. And it's in your blood in the horse racing, families, as we like to say. So
keeping it in the family.
Yeah.
You guys are like honorary Italians, got to keep it in the family over
You don't
here.
drive, but you still get the connection. But it's a cool thing.
All right. Anything else we need to kind of cover about Mike's background? Anything else we missed there on the harness stuff at all?
About it,
I think.
All right, because we're now going to start picking your brain and start to drink these mint juleps here, maybe.
People want to make some money this weekend because we got the Derby coming up.
We do have
the biggest horse race of the year.
You know, is it the Run for the Roses, the
Yep.
fastest 2 minutes, all of that fun stuff.
That's 2 minutes of sports.
5 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to talk. This is actually, we'll go through this daily race form here a little bit too in a minute. We got some real basic questions for some people. How long is a furlong?
1/8 of a mile.
1/8 of a mile. Had to think about it for a second. The Derby's what, a mile and a 16th, mile and a quarter.
Yep.
And then in harness racing, like what's the average length of a harness race?
Almost all of ours is a mile.
A mile. All right. Thoroughbreds. It seems like there's probably a variety of different lengths and races
Different
there.
race lengths and different race horses. You know, there's some are sprinters and some are long distance.
And then also different surfaces as well.
Yes.
Like I don't think you're taking a harness on turf at any point.
And they have across the ocean, a few times, but we don't.
So we got to talk about some mud too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of mud.
Mud, harness racing. I think my dad, speaking of dads, my dad, avid horse player, if you will, and always loves the Seinfeld. The Kramer, his mudder was a mudder. There's nothing better than harness racing in the mud because that's when the long shots seem to hit. Is his theory there. Yeah. But let's talk about, generally, everyone loves, to bet on horses by name or, cutesy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For the person that wants to maybe make a little bit more of a educated investment, if you will, into this weekend, horse racing, very, very common. We have the daily race form. Is that kind of what we got there? Which talks about past performances and then gives you some indication on horses. We have one pulled up on the screen right here for one of our favorites for Saturday's race, Sandman. I think he opened up. What did we say here? He opened up as a 6-1
or 6-1, and he has a 17 hole.
All right, so he's in the 17 spot. We'll talk through some of those questions here. But if you look at this probably looks like Spanish or a foreign language to most people.
Yep.
What I did is I kind of broke some stuff down here and so we can zoom in on some things. So if someone's looking at the form, they're looking at the top left corner. So we see 17. So that's telling us what post position the horse is running in.
Correct.
We got his name, Sandman, owner. And then we got some of like the colors he's going to have on, right?
Yeah, that each driver wears the colors of the trainer.
Okay. And then we have jockey. I'm going to guess that's for the J there. What was that? Ortiz. Yeah,
that would be it.
And then these other numbers here, I wasn't entirely sure. So we got I'm going to guess that's maybe 14 starts this year.
Yeah.
And then 3 wins.
Or at that particular track.
Okay.
Most likely.
All right. And then
wins, second place, third place.
All right. Then moving through there, we were talking about this really about like what these horses, like how they're acquired and purchased and all of this. So we found here a Sandman at some point was purchased for $1.2 million. Is that kind of what we're following there?
Mm-hmm.
We find out who his parents are. A little birth certificate for him.
How old was Sandman when he was purchased for 1.2?
Well, it looks
doesn't say, but what are they? They're buying these things as their yearlings, right?
that old 24, March 24.
Yep.
So he was bought last March for 1.2 million.
That's what it sounds like to me. It's not quite as our kind of program, but it's
Okay.
So you're damn.
You're putting 1.2 million into something you've never seen race or have any idea what's going on
that's
there.
like the next part. The next part on here was I was going to pull this up. As we're going through this, I'm reading through it. I didn't even necessarily realize. So these are 3-year-old horses in the Derby.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a lot of racing experience.
No.
And I think we can talk about this, right? So we have at this point lifetime starts 8.
Yeah.
3 wins, 1 second, 2/3. Career earnings or career winnings 1.25 million there.
Yeah.
His ran 3 races so far this year. Is win, place, and showed. So WPS bet might pay out here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then over here, so we have DFST. So these are all track conditions. So I'm going to guess DFST, dirt, fast, wet, synthetic, turf, and then so it looks like this horse here. If we're looking at this and you're looking in the daily race form, top right corner, you're going to see what kind of track conditions these horses have ran on.
He doesn't run on any of the others.
Yeah, and obviously with 8 career races, I'm pretty limited sample size there. Moving through, I think the interesting part. I actually did some research about the DRF as well. I think it's been published every week since like 1854 or something crazy like that. I had to hack this one off the internet there, but these are below the horse number, name, all that information here. We're also going to be covering past performances here. Is that what?
Yes.
What, and this obviously, I know thoroughbred and harness are a little bit different, but is there anything we want to look at specifically here that might indicate the strength of the horse, how the horse runs? Anything we need to maybe cover? Any pointers on that part?
Not necessarily on this particular one. Main thing for betting is the driver or jockey,
okay,
and the trainer. And we have in our programs, we have your rating as how you're doing. It's like a batting average. If you're over 300, you're doing well.
Okay.
And you take the top trainer average and jockey average together.
So I'm going to guess that that's probably somewhere in here, maybe with these 0.17s, 0.18s, and I think these other numbers here, like your average return on a $2 bet for trainers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Running through here, I had one other question that kind of popped up. These 121, 119, 117, 122. I don't know if that translates in a harness, but I'm guessing that's a jockey weight.
I'm thinking it's weight also, yeah.
So I get in harness racing, jockeys all in or drivers all in the 120 weight range too then, or
no, it varies, and it doesn't matter as much because they're pulling the rider, where these are carrying. So if you're carrying something, it matters. If you're pulling a wagon with something in it,
yeah, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
We could probably pull my left leg around here and find 122 pounds.
Most of the time the guys are around $140.
The interesting about the thoroughbreds too is that each horse is carrying the same weight. Correct. They have to have a weight. If they're overweight, that's fine. If they're underweight, they add weight to the horse in order to make it an even.
So they put some lead on the horse.
Yeah,
I did not know that at all.
Yeah,
so they all got to run at like 126. Then is that maybe the one? I don't know. I thought I saw a number on there.
So I guess if your jockey's overweight, you're just overweight.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not. You can still race.
But if you're underweight, you have to be brought up to the weight. So it's almost like the NASCAR theory. Let's make these cars they try to make them as similar as possible.
Carry their saddle when they weigh in, stand on the scale.
And then kind of running through the rest of the race form here. These are obviously extension to the right there, previous races, other horses that are in the Derby in this case. That this horse, in this case, Sandman's raced with, and then maybe a little bit of a narrative on what kind of went up. It looks like maybe he was swept up. It was 4 wide. That kind of what we're picking up there. Yeah. A super brief narrative on there.
Yeah.
And then we obviously, you said some of the more important stuff, trainer, and then kind of where this horse is at here. So this is Sandman again. Hall of Fame trainer, hasn't been in the Derby in a little bit. We kind of look at some other things. So this horse, huge closing kick. He's going to start on 17, the outside. We did talk about, or I guess we didn't recover yet, post position and the importance there. Nick and I, we both did research there. So number 1 hole hasn't won a Kentucky Derby since 1986. Is there any value from a bettor's perspective, or concentration on like a certain position that may or may not?
A lot of them don't like to be down inside the 4 hole, 3.
So they want to be close to the rail then?
More of the middle.
Okay.
In the middle. The far outside is a disadvantage, but you got to brake harder. But a lot of times when you're down on the rail, they all come at you, and you got to check your horse, and you get pushed around quite a bit, and that takes energy out of your horse. Like for us, we're not running into each other. They kind of bump into each other from time to time, but our post position that is the best is number 4.
Okay. So maybe I think Nick, you might have a nugget here about like the 8 hole or something along those lines too. Or
So the Kentucky Derby, the favorite is actually the 8 hole.
Okay.
It seems to me that most people are not too high in a favorite as maybe they normally would be. You know what I mean? We're not seeing too many experts pick it, you know, whether they're picking longer shots or not. But the 8-hole has produced the second most Kentucky Derby winners of all time. And so we have the favorite there.
Which plays well into what your dad, the expert here, just about being kind of in the middle, right? We have how many horses are running in this thing?
20.
20?
20,
Yep.
All right.
20,
so kind of being
20
in the middle, 8-hole. How do these? And I guess we could ask in harness too. Like, how does post position establish? Is it just a random draw?
It's a random draw about 4 days ahead of time.
Okay. All right. So we know we're covering post position. One thing I guess we didn't really maybe talk about on the form there too is we'll go back to it real quick. Nick was talking about the favorite and whatnot. So one of the things you're usually going to see the opening line for somebody. So in horse racing, right, the lower the lower the payout there. So in this case, Sandman 6-1.
Yep.
We'd probably say anything 2 to 8 is probably almost favorite category.
Yeah.
9 to 18, 19 is probably middle of the road, and then 20 and up's a long shot. Would you say?
Yeah.
And that kind of that line there it's an interesting thing. Like we see the Super Bowl, right? Like in other betting things where the line opens up, but you can secure the line in sports betting immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Horse racing, it moves until the horses are off, right?
Until they ring the bell.
And so I think that's a lot of times we always talk about sharp action and things that come in late or move a line. I guess I don't follow the horses enough to really know this, but is it common to maybe see a long shot kind of get bet down into the middle at some point, or how does that all work?
Yeah, it does. And you see it at smaller places because less money. So a little bit of bet goes a long ways, where the bigger places it's a little hard to see, but it happens. And I keep my eye. They don't really like you to look at the board when we're out there, but we already know what's going on.
you know
they don't want us talking, but we talk all day, every day anyway. So, it's not like anybody's fixing a race on a racetrack, but I keep an eye on it. And when I see something that doesn't look right to me, like a horse that's bet way down, somebody knows something. Somebody's betting on that horse for a reason.
All right.
And maybe more than one person. So that's kind of a horse that I would kind of keep an eye on when we're leaving the gate and position myself around that horse if I can.
There you go.
All right.
I try to stay with the better horses. So I pick out about 3 or 4 horses off the board that I like, and I try to work in that. I don't want them to get on the lead and me be all the way back last between a bunch of horses that don't fit as well.
I think let's real quick before we go into we'll deviate off the Derby for a second and talk maybe a comparison between harness and thoroughbred. I think one of the interesting things, harness is like almost you're power walking the horse. Like they're not supposed to break and run a little bit. So how do you control, obviously it's lots of practice, I'm sure, discipline and all of that stuff. Like, what's the strategy there? Like, obviously you see these in the Derby and thoroughbreds, like you see these horses getting whipped a little bit. Are you all like, how do you get a horse to slow down, I guess?
You got 2 reins, and that's your brakes.
All right.
You pull back.
Pull back.
Some horses pull real hard just to keep them at a certain speed. Other horses just kind of take a nice hold of you. We call it a hold, but that's how you do that.
All right. Nick, you had some. What else? We had some random stats here. We got like Toby Keith.
Let's talk a little bit about the Derby. I mean, a lot of people who don't watch horse racing, this is the one horse race they're going to watch all year, right? So it's the biggest one out there. So, I mean, we hit on a little bit. Our favorite to watch out for that too many experts that I've been paying attention to are not too high on are journalism out of the 8-hole. Interesting nugget. One of the top post positions to be at the start. So
some people can say journalism is dead, but not the horse.
Yeah. Okay, next up.
So journalism and Sandman, I think, were maybe the top 2.
Sandman's one of them at 6-1. Savandry out of the 18-hole was another one. Has always done well. Rodriguez, I believe he is out of the 4-hole there, if I'm correct on that. He is 12-1. Interesting about that is which we do have a kind of an interesting nugget here. Bobby Baffert makes his return as a trainer after a 3-year hiatus.
Yeah, he's got 2
for
horses
things
in.
we won't say. Yes, he has 2 horses in. Now to watch out for both of them. So he is tied for the most Derby wins of all time, right?
Yeah.
Correct on that. So looking to break that, he's got a chance with 2 horses in. So he brings one of those good odds there, 12-1. Maybe that's one to watch out for, day of, if they're betting down, you know what I mean? That might be one to take a look
Well,
for.
your dad did speak about one thing, watching trainer, jock, like,
Yes.
trainer is important. You
Mhm.
don't just you don't just randomly become, the most winningest trainer either. So you got 2 horses in it.
Correct.
Probably not a bad idea for building a bet on one of them there.
Yep. 3 hiatus. And I always, the Japanese horses, we got Luxor Cafe, if I'm saying that right, I believe, 15-1 out of the 7 hole, but has never been a Japanese horse to win the Derby. So, every year that's one to watch out for. He's one right there. A couple long shots that we got. Cole Battle is going off at 30-1. He's out of the 16 hole. A little tough position there. However, he has had 8 starts and 5 wins.
All right.
So has done well.
He's a winner.
Hasn't faced the best competition, but when he did at the Arkansas Derby, he finished in the money.
Okay.
And he was right there towards the end there. So that's one to look. Burnham Square is another one. He's got the nine hole, so that's a good thing. Last victory was a Bluegrass Stakes. So he's a strong closer, so that's important in a race like this. And then Grande, there was something on that one, 17-1. That's another long shot that we're looking at there. So, that's one right there. Todd Pletcher's the trainer there, so he's a strong trainer as well. So something to keep an eye on. Weather, track conditions. That's one thing we want to ask you, Dad, while you're sitting here. Track conditions, do they make a difference? Because I was looking up, it's been raining heavily down there in Kentucky. So we're looking Saturday could be okay day, but might be a muddy surface. Is that something you're looking at when you're looking at kind of how they're finishing and stuff like that, and the type of tracks they're racing on?
Yeah,
your
speed horses don't do as well.
Your speed horses don't. Okay.
No. And speed doesn't carry in the mud.
Okay.
The other thing is there's personalities involved. Some people just don't perform well in the mud. Some people don't see as well as other people.
I have a 5-year-old kid that hates being muddy, so I'm sure there's probably 3-year-old horses that probably don't like to be muddy either, too.
So
they don't usually come from out of it full of mud. They ingest it, everything else, and then they're carrying it, and so they got to try to keep themselves clean while they're going too. So
we got a 30-1 long shot, the 13-hole publisher, who they say races very well in the mud, and is facing the money. So that's maybe one to keep an eye on out. Another notable storyline is the great late Toby Keith actually has a horse in this race. Is something that he's always wanted, fulfilling his dream.
For his horses, right?
That's it. Render judgment to 15. Don't know how well he'll do. He's a 30-1, but that's kind of a cool story there. That was one dream they said that he had, and he's obviously gone as of last year. An icon, a great. So he's got a horse in there. So that's a cool storyline to follow there.
All right, so we got all the history, everything else. The last thing we want to end it with is like how to not sound like a noob at the betting window. So there's millions of different things, but
you go up and you tell them I've never done this before.
So
then they'll help you.
Right
so
let me get this spook line moving.
So I love that because that's super important.
Everybody gets up from behind you too. They don't want to be behind the guy they won't get to the window because he's.
And I think that's one of the things that we always point out on this podcast with Nick and when Adam's here too, is like, don't be afraid to ask the experts for help. Yeah. They're there to help you.
Yeah.
They want to keep the line moving too. They want to help you get it. They don't want you to do it wrong either. I think is the biggest thing, because there's nothing worse than you bet the wrong race. Like, hey, I'm on Churchill 10. Why aren't my horses running?
That's not a winning ticket.
Exactly. You go up there and scan it and they tell you, no, sorry, you thought you won 10 grand. You didn't. But I think some of the easier bets are the common ones to follow. Exacta, so that's going to be your 1-2, trifecta, 1, 2, 3, super. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can box those, right? So if you're just betting them regular, you're betting, this horse to finish first, this horse to finish second, this one to finish third. You box them, you get all of those categories. It obviously makes your basic $2 bet become more expensive. Mm-hmm. Superfecta is usually your high vet. You're maybe burying a long shot or two in there, trying to cash a big ticket. Are there any other insider little tips or some other like quirky bets outside of win play show and those bets?
There's one that's called across the board, and that's betting one horse to be first, second, or third.
Okay.
So If you bet a $2
Win
across the
place to
board,
show.
it's $6. I mean,
Okay.
it's pretty safe.
All right. So you just want to get a little bit of action, so you know what you're cheering for, and across the board, maybe on maybe 2 or 3 of these.
If your horse
these middle
wins, you get
horses.
all 3 bets.
Ah,
If you finish second, you get place and show.
okay.
You get it at a discount rate or
No,
same rate?
regular
That would
rate, yeah.
you just got to pay more to get.
You just don't get the
payment.
win.
Gotcha.
So across the board,
Yeah.
I love it.
If you're third, you're still going to get a little bit.
In the mortgage
take a-
world, I can tell you that everyone hates across the board adjustments on appraisals, but we'll take across the board bets.
That's it. Listen
Um,
to the professionals, right?
all right.
So
Hot. Well, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead. You got
No, I was gonna put him on the hot seat here and
Go ahead,
say,
get him on the hot seat.
so
What the hell?
what do we got for maybe give me the exacta? Give me Mike's exacta.
Oof.
Of this
You got-
race here,
Yeah, that one.
You gotta-
Or tonight too in Anderson.
Study up a little bit.
Yeah. because I haven't really
Told
looked
you.
at it that much, but I do like the journalism, and the
Okay.
reason why I do
Okay.
like him is because of he's usable. When we call him horse usable, you can leave hard with him, or you can set him in the middle of the pack, or you can come from out of the pace, depending on what kind of way the track is playing. Because sometimes the wind might be in your face in the stretch. It's hard to pass horses going into the wind.
Okay.
Like especially for us in the harness business, you can be loaded, get off a guy's back, you go about 2 feet, and you're done. That's all the farther you can go. So it has a different. Each track has a different play, and then sometimes it's just a fair play if there's no wind involved and it's not heavy track. Then you can do whatever you want with that particular horse, and that's very important, especially the first time these horses get together, because a lot of them haven't been running against each other.
All right. So
So he necessarily, I mean, we always talk about trips, right? You want a good trip around a racetrack. You don't want to be
Good trip,
buried. This
clean
and that.
trip.
But he's
Mhm.
one that more that if it's not such a perfect trip, he's still capable of coming out and winning it.
adaptable.
Yes.
Yeah, adaptable. That's
Okay.
that's basically it.
Okay.
And
So he's probably, I'm gonna guess he probably almost gets bet down to chalk at some point here. So we
Yeah,
got to slide a long shot in this thing or what?
I'm gonna take the 18,
18. Who's that one? Sandman?
70,
Oh, Sovereignty. All right.
All right.
and he's been known to be a hard closer. And if there's a fast pace, it might help him out. So I'm gonna take the 18 and the 8.
All right. I love it.
Yeah. What do you think about Bobby Baffert? Any of his got a shot in this one to break the record, or is he
He's
waiting?
always got a shot.
Always got a shot.
Yeah,
Okay.
very good trainer.
So I'm looking at his 4 at 12-1. That's pretty good. Good bang for your buck there, maybe
Yeah.
with the right trainer.
Anything else?
$2 bet, $26.
You got more on the hot seat for him, or
That was it. That was
it.
my,
Just
yeah,
give me your
big
picks,
Big Mike's picks. We're gonna get you.
Big
We're
Mike's
gonna,
picks.
next thing you know, after you're done running the harness races, we'll have you in as the editor of the Rusty Putter
Okay.
horse publication.
Yeah, well, we're bringing a horse racing side to it. So, I mean, we talk sports gambling. It's horse gambling, same thing. So,
Anything else, Nick?
no, I think that's it. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on and giving us a little insight on what you're
Absolutely.
looking at out there. I'm going with the 4-horse Rodriguez. I want Bobby Baffert's going to take the record.
As
What do you
a big, I mean, I like the idea.
I picked Mystic Dan last year, so let's see what happens.
I have a picture of all of my losing picks from last year. As a Metallica fan, I think I'm going to have to go with Sandman here.
Okay,
Um,
nice, like it.
Then maybe we'll throw a little Toby Keith in there as well. Just some
why
beer for
not?
my horses, beer for me.
Yep.
Um,
That'd
You
be a
gotta
good
throw a little
story.
money on him just to
yeah,
Just
it's
to do
it.
you always got to have like a
Little
like. I
nostalgia.
think that's like one thing too that I think is confused a lot of times. Like you can bet very casually and very socially in horse racing. I mean, there's quarter bets, dollar bets, $2 bets. You don't have to go crazy.
right.
To have a little bit of fun, do it responsibly. For the love of God, do not spend your down payment money on this stuff. But you
Don't
know,
buy a car when you're getting a house, and don't
Yeah.
spend your money on on horse racing.
Exactly. Anything else?
That's it. So I mean, I'm excited. It's best. It's a fun day on Saturday. So biggest horse race of the year. So that's what we're looking forward to.
And-
Real estate market we haven't touched that is picking up a little bit. Did the rates come down a little bit, Tony?
Rates are moving in the right direction.
The right direction. God, I
Yeah.
would love to hear that.
So, and by right, I just say that the chart just keeps going to the right.
Oh,
It's we can dive into that and a little bit more as we start to see some stabilization.
Yep.
We hear some of these trade deals coming together. That's a good thing for the dollar. Stronger dollar means better interest rates. but I don't want to bore everyone to death with that. We've already gone through all kinds of fun numbers today.
Yep.
We'll have some fun this weekend. Get out there. Maybe pick up a simulcast at Anderson tonight. We can. What do we got tonight? You got a good horse tonight?
I haven't even looked, to be
All
honest with you.
Easy
And they've
enough.
been drawn 4 days ago, so we've drawn next week Wednesday already.
I guess when you win over 7,000 races, you don't got to look at the program.
Yeah, but this guy, is he an expert or
You
something?
just hop on.
I'm trying to get out of the post parade and into the race without getting wiped down again.
We got to watch out for those guys trying to run you over. Huh? All right, well, that's it. We will see you guys next Wednesday. Mike, we sincerely appreciate you hopping on here
No
talking
problem.
about this. I think maybe we'll have you back on sometime later in the year and just actually talk specifically harness racing for a little bit,
Sure.
so people can understand it. It's a fun thing to
It is.
it's a fun thing to watch. And everyone will have their post Derby blues, and whoever won this one, they're going to win the Triple Crown. And I think earlier you
Big
said
thing.
no real Triple Crown contenders yet in this group of 3-year-olds.
I don't think so. I think
By
it's
the way,
too early.
Mid julep, drink the Kentucky
Yep.
Derby. Have those on Saturday. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Do it safely. Have fun, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
I'm done. Cut the show.